Hi, Leah from my sewing room here. Today I'm going to be walking you through threading the PR1055X from Brother. This is part of the Entrepreneur series of machines and in the multi-needle family. So lots of times when people start looking at a 10 needle machine or a 6 needle machine, or even the single needle machines in this lineup, the interface and the setup of the machine looks daunting and threading looks terrifying. Let me tell you, it's not. I'm going to walk you through threading all 10 needles and give you the confidence to set up your first project when you get your 1055 home. Watch as we thread the machine. To thread the PR1055 Entrepreneur Pro, I recommend the first time you thread it through, starting at needle 1 and following through from right to left. It's a little bit backwards to how we like to think of things normally here in Canada, but definitely how the machine is set up is the easiest to follow. There are numbered pathways covering the entire top of the machine, and we'll cover the top kind of third of threading and then reposition cameras to show you the second, third, and the final part right at the needles. Will not be another camera reposition. So when we start threading our needles, the back 3 spool pins on either side will have 2 thread guides through the top aerial, followed by a thread guide in the white part, a little hole down through the middle part of the thread guide. There's a hole through the back here. We'll be coming under the spring guide, around the tension knob following the white line, following past this post and this post, and under one more spring clamp. We're going to start by placing our first thread on the first spool pin. We'll just make sure that the thread's not caught in the spool in any way. Make sure it's freely flowing. And we'll come up from the back side of the first aerial thread guide, going from back to front through both the first 2. This is definitely something where you want to make sure you have the right glasses for what you're doing. When we come to the front part of the machine here, we just need to do a quick double check that the holes in the upper white part are open. There's a small slider that can be closed or opened. When the slider is in the left-hand position, it is open. I find that keeping quite a short tail on the thread as I navigate through each of these thread guides is incredibly helpful for managing how it moves through the guides. Through the middle thread guide, at the back part of the tension portion of the machine, coming through from back to front. And then we'll slide it under the spring guide from right to left. And wrap all the way around the tension unit. The tension units are preset on your machine, but very adjustable in case you do need to make adjustments. On the right-hand side of that first post, left-hand side of the second post, and then under the following spring guide. We'll thread the remainder of this in a couple minutes after we move the cameras around. Follow through as we do the next 9. I'll make a note that needles 5 and 6 do not have a secondary post after the tension disc. Now that we've threaded the top portion of the machine past the tension units, we're going to carry on and thread our take-up lever area in the machine. You'll note there's a lot of little spaces in here. As we get through here, we do need to make sure that the threads are not caught over top of the plastic covers on the machine and following the correct thread path. So we'll be starting again from needle 1, and our first trek is right down on the right-hand side of that first opening. And then there's a small U on the plastic here to show us where to go back up. And if the thread tail is way too long at this point, you might want to cut it slightly shorter, so it's easier to thread through the take-up. We're threading the take-up from right to left, and then coming back down in that same slot. The second time we come down, we're coming down into the hole that is just in front of our number 1. And this will be nearly at our needles. When we come down this spot, this is our chance to make sure this thread is hanging out on the correct side of each guide. I like to leave the tails quite long after I come through the hole, just in front of number 1 in the silver plate there, as it makes threading in our third view much easier. Follow through as we thread the next 9. Now that we've threaded the center portion of the machine past the take-up levers, we're down at the actual needles. For this, we've pulled up the screen as well for you to see how to move between needles to thread each one as we go. So the key things to remember when you're threading from here is the thread is coming out through the hole that we just threaded through in the previous part. And there is a very small wire thread guide at the top of each needle with an opening on the right-hand side that we're going to slide the thread through. So the opening is just on the side over here. Your machine should come with this great little tool to help you push the thread behind that wire guide. You do push on the end, it extends by, about 1/8 of an inch to give you that extra little reach. It's very difficult to thread these needles without a tool to assist getting the thread behind that wire thread guide. Point of note while we're here, your needle screw to change your needles is just in the needle block here. And there's a small window to see that the needle is all the way up in the needle block when you're changing your needles. We'll show that in another video. So from here, the first thing I'm going to do for each needle is tuck the thread behind that wire thread guide. And on screen, I'm going to go into my needle change option. And from this particular screen, I can tell it which needle I'd like to do what to. So if I'm ready to thread on needle 1, which indeed I am, I'm going to press the needle threader button, which will lower the needle threader and put a small hook through the eye of the needle that's going to grab the thread and pull it through the eye for us. So now that the needle threader is lowered, we're going to be threading past the 3 silver bars that you see. 2 are attached to the needle threader and the third is attached to the foot. We'll be doing that from right to left. 1, 2, 3. After it's under the bar on the foot, we'll be coming up and over to the outside of the cover. And there's a thread cutter located behind the white part in here to trim the tail to the right length. Now that you've done that, you can press the needle threader button back on the screen. Just like that, needle 1 is threaded. To move to needle 2, quite simple. You're going to be touching needle 2 on screen. The needle case will move and we'll be ready to carry on, starting with that wire thread guide once more. Bring her down from right to left. Cut the thread. Thread our button. Watch as we thread 8 more. Just like that, all 10 needles are threaded. One last step before the machine is completely threaded and ready for us to use. We do need to make sure we have thread on our bobbin. The bobbin case can be found behind the bobbin cover, which just flips down. The bobbin case itself, there's a small latch that you'll pull from the right-hand side to remove the bobbin case. There's a wide variety of bobbins available for the PR series machines. There's a variety of pre-wound bobbin options, as well as a bobbin winder as an add-on accessory to allow you to wind your own bobbins. The machine ships with magnetic pre-wounds. When you're placing these in the machine, the magnet does indeed go towards the bobbin case. And we'll be tracking the thread through the small slit on the side and up and under the spring. The key thing to remember, no matter what kind of bobbins you're using on your PR1055X, is that when you pull on the thread, the bobbin should be turning clockwise when you're looking at it. To install your bobbin case in the machine, you're going to simply flip it around and make sure the opening in the bobbin case is towards the top, and give it a firm push until it clicks. You can leave the tail long and close the door. Now we're ready to get going on whatever project you want to get started with. Stay tuned for more videos here at My Sewing Room. Now that we've completely rethreaded this machine or threaded it for the very first time, whatever the case may be for you, I can let you know that this is not how I thread my machine regularly. I did that once at the very beginning when my machine came home, and since then I've used this fabulous hack to get my machine rethreaded in no time at all. So if you would like to see a much quicker and easier way to thread your machine the second time, click this link here or below and watch our threading hack for the PR1055X. Thank you so much for joining us here at My Sewing Room in Calgary. We look forward to helping you on your multi-needle embroidery journey. Take care, everybody.